My name is Marceline Goodwin. I am 58 years old. I worked 32 years as a postal carrier, walking rain and sun through the neighborhoods of a small Georgia town until the pension finally kicked in. I live alone now in a 2-bedroom house on Sycamore Lane, a spot of yellow and white paint under an old oak tree. I have a picture of my mother on the mantel, a stack of postcards from places I never got to see, and a metal tin with the little savings I kept for a rainy day. I am careful with money. I am careful with trust. I am careful with the small quiet that comes after everyone else in my family has left for work and their own lives. Tonight was ordinary. The kind of ordinary you learn to like when the world has bruised you and given you gentle things instead. I had finished my supper, a plain bowl of soup and a slice of cornbread. The television was on low, showing a cooking show with too much laughter. I had my phone on the table beside my cup, face down because I did not want to be bothered. My daughter, Latoria, calls sometimes. She lives 40 minutes away with her husband. They are busy. She has 3 jobs, or it feels like that sometimes, and I told her years ago to take care of herself and not to worry about me. She always says she will. At 10:22, the little phone buzzed against the wood like a small insect. I picked it up. There was a missed call and one new voice message. The locked screen told me Latoria had left a message. I smiled. Maybe she was calling to tell me some small good thing, a recipe to try, a joke she heard at work. I unlocked the phone and tapped to play. Her voice filled the kitchen, not her usual sing-song that lights up her words, but low and urgent, the kind of voice that comes when a person has been thinking about only one thing for a long time. It was meant for someone else. I could hear a man breathing softly in the background. She said his name like a secret. I should have stopped it then. I should have hung up, laughed at eavesdropping, and put the phone down. But I did not. I held it to my ear like a child holding a secret. She began, calmly but with a brittle edge. I heard, "Hey, Devon, you remember what we talked about?" She said the name as if repeating an order. She told him where the backup key was hidden under the loose brick on the back step. My heart thudded like a drum that had been slapped too hard. "They have a key. They can come in," she went on. Not in the voice of a daughter worried about her mother, but in a voice of someone arranging details. I typed out the words in my head as if paper could catch them. She said the paperwork would be ready Wednesday, that she had already called a broker, that the assisted living they had been looking at had a nice wing and a good cafeteria. She said she had been patient, that she had tried to help, but help had a limit. I imagine a part of you hearing this and thinking this is the practical voice of a weary daughter who wants the best. I thought that too for a moment. I wanted to crab myself, to forgive before I had to choose. But then Latoria's voice changed. Her tone turned small and almost cruel in the way people become cruel when they are counting money or feeling trapped by someone else's needs. She said, "He can sign the forms tomorrow," and she laughed, a tiny, sharp laugh that cut across my ribs. She said, "We can take her checks, put them on autopay, and it will be easier for everyone. Easier. Easier for everyone." My spoon slipped from my hand and clattered against the bowl. Soup splashed. The kitchen smelled like thyme and burned cornbread. For a second, I thought I had misunderstood. I rewound the message. I listened again. The same sentences, the same plan. She told him where I kept the old pension paperwork, the name of my bank and the branch, as if reading down a grocery list. She told him which account had the smallest penalty if they moved things around, which would leave enough to pay for a private room at the facility they had picked out. The kitchen blurred at the edges. I pressed the cold of the phone to my chest. My hands trembled. Latoria was not talking about care or rest. She was talking about production lines of my life, sliding things around like coins on a table. I could feel, suddenly, the months that had been smooth and ordinary, all of them becoming a plan. She was 36 years old. She is my girl. She is the one I taught to fold her clothes just so, the one who used to write me notes about the color of a dress she wanted to wear to her school play. She called me Mama the way some people call prayer, with a breath and a name. She had been the first person I loved who could grow a life outside of me and still hold my hand when storms came. How had our hands become so far apart that she could speak of my life like a ledger? How had I become something to be moved? I walked slowly to the window and pulled the curtain aside. The street was quiet. The oak tree had lost more leaves than last week. A neighbor's porch light blinked through the night. I imagined Latoria in her house, the glow from their television painting her face, Devon in a chair, the two of them leaning toward this plan like it was a business pitch and not the dismantling of a life. The message kept playing in my head, phrase after careful phrase. I thought about the pension check that came on the first of the month, how predictable and small and proud it made me feel. It paid for groceries, for my little home, for the repairs I never liked to ask my daughter about. It was my quiet work, the reward for decades of walking the same streets in rain and sun. Now, suddenly, it was paperwork, a line item. I called Latoria. Her phone went straight to voicemail. My throat tightened. I left a message that sounded too calm. "Hey baby," I said, "just calling to say good night. Call your mama when you can." I did not tell her I had her message. I did not tell her the words had landed like pebbles in my chest and ricocheted. I cleaned up the bowl and wrapped the cornbread in a towel and put it in the bread box like I always did. Actions are the edges of control. I made coffee for tomorrow and set the kettle to soak. But sleep would not come. I lay on the couch and turned the volume on the television down to nothing and listened to the house breathe. I thought of the doctor visits I had not told anyone about. I thought of the moments I had put my foot down and walked the long way instead of taking the bus because I did not want to be the person who needed help. I thought of all the small dignities that make a life. At 1 in the morning, my phone buzzed again. A second message. I should have let it go to voicemail. I should have let the night keep its ordinary quiet. But the phone felt warm in my hand like a living thing, and I tapped to play. Latoria's voice was softer this time, like she was speaking to a child who had just been given the green light. She said, "He will be over tonight after he finishes his shift." She said the time, like something rehearsed. She told him to bring the box with the legal forms and that she had hidden the original power of attorney in the Bible on my shelf. She said, "We will do this for her own good, Mama. We will do this for her own good." I dropped the phone. It hit the floor and the screen flashed. The word tonight thrummed through my bones. Tonight. I am not a brave woman by nature. I am not a woman who sets out to fight. I keep my head down. I count my pennies. I make my small plans. But the voice saying tonight sounded like a closing door. It smelled like a plan in motion, like men loading things into vans and quiet hands moving what had been mine. I stood up. My legs felt heavy, but I moved toward the bedroom where the Bible sits on the nightstand under a small lamp. My hands shook as I reached for it. Some things in this life are simple truths, and the Bible is one of them. I opened it to where the pages had been turned so often the margin was soft. The paper was smooth under my fingertips. I felt for the place Latoria had said she hid the power of attorney. The space I had expected to find a document or an envelope was empty. The page was blank of anything but the prayers I had circled years ago. My breath left me like a sigh that never returned. The room folded in. Outside, a car passed slowly down Sycamore Lane, headlights like slow boats on a dark river. The clock on my wall clicked toward 2 in the morning. I thought of sleeping, of waking, of the small defiance of making myself a cup of tea in the morning and reading the paper. Then my phone vibrated one more time. One more message. Short. No greeting. Just a single sentence. "We will see you tomorrow." The kitchen seemed to tilt. My fingers went cold. Tomorrow. The word hung in the air like a shadow with teeth. I sat down on the edge of the bed with the Bible open on my lap and the voice message playing in my ear like a verdict. I felt the house close in, tighter than the old oak outside my window. I do not know what I will do next. I do know that I will not let the story end on the phone buzzing through the night. I will answer. I will stand. I will find out what Devon and Latoria really mean when they speak of doing what is easier. Before I tell you what comes next, please do me a small favor. If this story is the kind that touches you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, And turn on the notifications so you do not miss the next chapter. Drop a quick comment below telling me which part of the country you are watching from so I know who is with me. It helps more than you know. I pressed play on the message again, and this time I heard, clear as a bell, a name I did not expect to hear. The name made my blood run cold. I did not sleep that night. Not even for a minute. I sat at the edge of my bed with the Bible still open on my lap, the pages shaking every time my hands trembled. The message kept repeating in my head like a broken tape. The name I heard at the end of it was not Devon. It was not Latoria. It was not anyone I expected to be part of this plan. It was a name I had not heard in years. A name that should have stayed buried in my past, locked behind years of silence and pain. When my daughter whispered it in that voice message, something inside me twisted like an old door forced open. The name was Harlan. Harlan Goodwin. My ex-husband. A man who had walked out of our lives 23 years ago and left nothing behind but overdue bills, broken promises, and a daughter who cried for him every night until she learned to stop expecting things that never came. He had not been in our world for decades. He did not call. He did not write. He did not support her, not with money, not with time, not with a single ounce of love. I raised Latoria alone. I worked double shifts. I lived on peanut butter sandwiches so she could have real lunches at school. I paid off debts he created and never once apologized for. That man took from me until there was almost nothing left. And now his name was in that message. My daughter had said, I already talked to Harlan. He's fine with everything. He just wants it done before the end of the month. Before the end of the month. I kept repeating the words until they thinned out like smoke. I pressed my hand over my chest. My breathing got short and heavy. Of all the people she could have turned to, why him? Why the man who had shown her the least love? Why the man who vanished when she needed him the most? What did they mean by everything? Why did he want it done so fast? The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. Someone had convinced my daughter that I was a burden. Someone had convinced her that my pension, my house, my life was easier to manage if she controlled it. And maybe, just maybe, her father had convinced her that this was normal. That this was expected. That this is what grown children do when their parents start slowing down. But I am not slowing down. Not yet. I walk. I cook. I pay my bills on time. I take care of my home. I remember things. I am not helpless. I am not fading. Yet in that recording, I heard the sound of people planning for a future where I did not have a say. I stood slowly from the bed, bracing myself against the nightstand. My knees ached, but not enough to keep me from moving. I walked into the living room. The lights from passing cars painted the walls like shifting ghosts. I turned on the lamp and stared at the old picture frames on my shelf. One photo stood out. A picture of Latoria when she was 6 years old. Her hair in little twists, her smile wide, holding a glittery sign she made for her first grade art fair. She had written, I love my mama bigger than the sky. I ran my fingers across her face. That little girl trusted me, needed me, loved me without hesitation. The woman she had become was different. Tired, busy, stretched thin. Maybe someone like Harlan could slip in through those cracks, convincing her she was doing the right thing. I sat down in my old recliner and stared at the message on my phone again. My house suddenly felt smaller, quieter. Like something was being taken from me inch by inch. At 3:20 in the morning, I heard a car door close outside. I froze. A second later, footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Walking down my driveway. I turned off the lamp. My heart hammered so hard it made my ears ring. Through the crack in the curtains, I saw the silhouette of a man I did not recognize standing on my porch. Broad-shouldered. Wearing a dark jacket. He wasn't Devon. Devon was lanky. This man looked older. Stronger. He had something in his hand. A clipboard. And a small flashlight. He knocked 3 times. I didn't move. He knocked again, louder this time. Then he spoke. His voice was calm, like someone who had done this 1,000 times. "Ma'am, I just need a moment of your time. I'm here regarding your paperwork." Paperwork. I backed away from the window, one slow step at a time. My hand covered my mouth to keep my breathing quiet. Paperwork at 3 in the morning. No one with honest business comes to your house at that hour. The knocking stopped. The porch light flickered. The man stood there for a moment like he was waiting for orders. Then he took out a phone. The screen lit his face, and for a moment I saw his expression. Cold. Focused. Like he wasn't here to talk at all. He held the phone to his ear. Said one sentence. "She's not answering. Want me to go around back?" A cold shiver crawled up my spine. Go around back. I stepped away from the window, heart pounding so loud I felt dizzy. I moved toward the hallway, toward the small desk where I kept my important papers. If someone wanted control of my life, my money, my home, it would start with documents. Signatures. Proof. Then I remembered the power of attorney that should have been hidden in the Bible. It was gone. Gone before I even opened the book. Someone had been in my house. The realization hit me like a punch to the ribs. Not coming. Already here. My breath shook. I grabbed my purse. My keys. My phone. I slipped out the side door as quietly as I could. My heart dropped when the cold air hit my face. I heard footsteps on my porch. The man was still there. I pressed myself against the side of the house and slipped through the bushes. I did not know where I was going. I only knew I needed to get somewhere safe. Somewhere with witnesses. Lights. Cameras. Somewhere no one could say I had agreed to anything. I started walking toward the convenience store at the end of Sycamore Lane. The only place open this late. My feet moved fast, faster than they had in years. My breath burned in my chest. But I didn't stop. When I reached the store, the bright lights washed over me like a blessing. I stood inside by the coolers, shaking, pretending to look at sodas until my nerves steadied. The cashier, a young man with braids and tired eyes, looked up at me. "You good, ma'am?" I nodded. Lying. Hiding. Surviving. My phone buzzed again. One new voice message. From Latoria. My mouth went dry. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. I pressed play. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Mama, please don't panic when you hear this. But there's something I didn't tell you. Something about why we need to move fast. Something about Harlan. I didn't want to scare you. But he said." She paused. Her breath shook like she was crying. "He said he's coming for you himself." The cooler hummed behind me. The cashier stared. The world shrank into that one sentence. Coming for me. My knees weakened. I gripped the freezer handle to stay upright. My daughter sounded terrified, not cruel, not heartless. Scared. The man outside my house wasn't Devon. He wasn't a worker from an assisted living home. He wasn't even there for paperwork. Then who was he? And what did my ex-husband want after 23 silent years? Before I could play the message again, the store door swung open. A shadow fell across the tiled floor. Someone had followed me. And when I turned to face them, my whole body went cold. Because the person who stepped inside was the last person I ever expected to see again. The air inside the convenience store felt too still, too sharp, like it stopped moving the second the door swung open. I turned slowly, my hands tightening on the freezer handle. And when I saw who stepped in, the breath left my body in one long, painful exhale. It was my sister, Janelle. I had not seen her in almost 6 years. She stood in the doorway beneath the bright fluorescent lights, wearing an oversized tan coat and holding a small leather bag against her side like she was afraid someone would grab it. Her hair, once long and curled, was now cut short and close to her scalp. Her eyes were the same deep brown we shared as children, but they were tired, carrying years of secrets and storms behind them. For a moment, neither of us moved. The cashier glanced between us, sensing something heavy but not knowing what it was. My lips parted, but no sound came. It felt like I was looking at a ghost, or someone who had been erased from my world and suddenly redrawn in front of me. Janelle stepped forward. Her voice was soft, trembling. "Celine, you need to come with me. Right now." My heart dropped. That tone. That urgency. I had heard it only once in my life, when she came to my apartment 24 years ago, begging me to hide her after Harlan had cornered her in a parking lot and threatened her for telling me the truth about his gambling expenses. She had cried for hours while I held her close, promising she would be safe, promising I would protect her. But life had a way of tearing people apart. And after that year, she disappeared from my life without explanation. Until now. Janelle reached for my arm, but I stepped back. I could barely breathe. "Why are you here?" I whispered. "How did you even find me?" Her lips tightened. "I followed the man who knocked on your door," she said. "He wasn't supposed to be there tonight. Harlan told me he would wait until morning." Something changed. The cashier, wide-eyed, asked, "You two need help? Should I call the cops?" Janelle shook her head fast. "No. Please don't. Not yet. Not yet." That phrase chilled me more than anything else. I pulled Janelle toward the back aisle where the cameras couldn't see us clearly. She let out a shaky breath. "Celine, it's Harlan. He's not working alone. They're using people from his old connections. He's been planning something for months. Something concerning your pension and your house. And he's been talking to Latoria." Her words landed like stones on my chest. So the message was real. The danger wasn't imagined. And my daughter, my baby girl, was wrapped up in something she didn't understand. I felt my throat closing. Why would she talk to him after everything he did to her? After everything he did to us? Janelle lowered her eyes, guilt pouring from her like slow water. Because he offered her something she's been desperate for. Something she thought you couldn't give her. Before I could ask what, the store door opened again. A gust of cold air swept in. I froze. That sound was different from before. Heavier, more purposeful. I peeked around the end of the aisle. A man had entered. Not the one from my porch, but someone younger. Tall. Hood pulled low. His eyes scanned the store with a hunter's stillness. He walked straight to the counter. "You seen a woman come in here?" he asked. The cashier's voice cracked. "We get a lot of women, sir." The man leaned closer. "This one's older. Short. Gray hair. Wearing blue tennis shoes. She left in a hurry." My heart punched against my ribs. Janelle grabbed my wrist. "We need to leave. Now." "How?" I whispered. "He's blocking the door." She nodded toward the back of the store. "There's a side emergency exit. It leads to the alley behind the dumpsters. If we move fast, he won't see us." I didn't want to run. I was tired. My body ached from fear and age and memories. But fear pushes even the slowest legs. We walked quickly along the back wall until we reached the red exit door. Janelle pressed the metal bar. A screaming alarm exploded through the store, loud enough to shake the windows. The cashier jumped. The hooded man spun around. "Run," Janelle hissed. The cold night slapped us the second we stepped outside. We ran into the narrow alley behind the building, our shoes slipping on wet pavement. The door slammed shut behind us. The alarm kept howling. My lungs burned. My legs felt like they were filled with concrete. But I kept moving because the footsteps inside the store were moving too. Fast, angry, determined. Janelle pulled me toward the end of the alley. A car was parked there, an old silver sedan with dents on the hood. "Get in," she said. "Hurry." She unlocked the passenger door. I glanced back. The alley door burst open. The hooded man stepped out, his eyes locked on us. Janelle pushed me inside and slammed the door. She jumped into the driver's seat. The engine rattled to life with a loud metallic cough. She hit the gas. The car jerked forward. Tires squealed. The man sprinted after us, his hand reaching out like he was inches away from grabbing the trunk. But the sedan shot out onto the main road, nearly colliding with a delivery truck. Horns blared. I clutched the dashboard, praying my heart wouldn't give out. Janelle drove fast, taking random turns through dark side streets until the store was far behind us. Only then did she slow the car. Only then did she speak again. Celine. Harlan isn't just after your pension. It's deeper than that. More dangerous. And your daughter. She doesn't realize the kind of people she's dealing with. I turned to her, voice trembling. What does he want, Janelle? What does he want with me after all these years? She swallowed hard, eyes locked on the road. Because 2 months ago, Harlan found out something about you. Something he thinks he deserves a piece of. I stared at her, heart pounding. What did he find out? Janelle pulled the car over near a dark field outside town. She turned off the engine. The silence wrapped around us like a cold blanket. She turned to me with fear in her eyes. 2 months ago, she said quietly, your pension wasn't the only thing that increased. You became the beneficiary of something else. Something big. Something he wants control of. My stomach twisted. Beneficiary of what? Janelle took a deep breath. Your brother's estate. My brother's estate. My brother who passed away 10 months ago. My brother who lived alone in Alabama. My brother who had never told me he owned anything valuable. I stared at her. My brother didn't have an estate, I whispered. He barely owned a car. Janelle shook her head slowly. He did, Celine. You just didn't know about it. Your brother left you a piece of land worth more money than you could imagine. Not land for farming. Not land for a house. Oil land. Oil. The word hit me like thunder. But before I could speak, before I could breathe, before I could understand what my life had just become, a pair of headlights flashed across the field. Another car had found us. Janelle's eyes widened. They're not supposed to know this car. The engine of the vehicle roared closer, dust rising behind it. She grabbed my hand. Celine, this is where things get dangerous. And this is where you must choose trust. Before I could answer, the car skidded to a stop beside us. The back door swung open. And the person who stepped out made every truth I thought I knew collapse in an instant. The headlights washed over the silver sedan like a floodlight, turning the quiet field into a stage. Dust swirled around us. My heart pounded so hard I felt it in my throat. Janelle's hand tightened around mine. Stay calm, she whispered. No matter what you see next, stay calm. The back door of the approaching car opened slowly. A tall figure stepped out, shoulders squared, moving with the confidence of someone who knew exactly why they were here. At first I couldn't make out the face. The lights were too bright. The night was too still. Then the figure stepped closer. And my knees went weak. It was my daughter, Latoria. Her eyes were red and swollen, as if she had been crying for hours. She was wearing her work sweater, the one with the embroidered company name, and she was shaking from head to toe. She looked younger than her 36 years. Scared. Lost. Torn apart. Mama, she whispered. I pressed my back against the seat. My mind couldn't catch up. One part of me wanted to reach for her. Another part wanted to run. Janelle looked at her sharply. How did you find us? Latoria wiped her face, chest heaving. I followed the man who came to the house. I tracked the car when he left. I didn't know who was helping him, but I saw you get out. I saw you pull Mama into your car. I thought you were taking her. Her voice broke. I thought you were part of his plan. Janelle cursed under her breath. I'm trying to stop his plan. I stared at my daughter for a long moment. She was trembling so hard her teeth were almost chattering. She looked nothing like the cold voice from the message. She looked like the little girl at her school art show again, scared somebody would take her place or her happiness. I opened the car door slowly and stepped onto the dusty ground. Latoria ran to me. She didn't hesitate. She clung to me like she hadn't done since she was a child, her face buried in my shoulder. Mama, I'm so sorry. I didn't know it would get this bad. I didn't know he would send somebody to the house tonight. I swear I didn't know. I touched her back gently. I didn't say anything. I needed the truth before comfort. She pulled away and wiped her cheeks. Mama, he told me you needed help. He told me you were falling behind on bills. He told me you weren't safe living alone. He told me the paperwork was just to protect you. I believed him. I believed my own father would try to do right this time. Her voice cracked on the last word. Father. That man had never been a father. Janelle stepped between us. Latoria, why would you talk to him after everything he did to her? After everything he did to you? Latoria's shoulders collapsed. Money, she whispered. He promised money. Not for me. For my kids. He said he could get them into a better school district. He said he had connections. Said he could help with the down payment. He showed me papers. He made everything look legal. Her lips trembled. I didn't know he was using me to get to Mama's inheritance. Oil land. Millions of dollars. Money that could change lives. But money like that also lit greed like fire. Janelle rubbed her forehead. He tricked you, girl. He's tricked everyone he's ever touched. Latoria covered her mouth like she wanted to scream. Mama, when I found out the truth, I tried to stop it. But he has people working with him now. People who know where you live. People who can force signatures. People who won't care that you're my mother. Her eyes filled with pure terror. I think one of them followed me here. The wind picked up. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. The field felt too open, too exposed, too quiet. I took a step back toward the car. Who is in the car with you? Latoria hesitated. Her eyes shifted. The other car door opened. A small figure climbed out, someone wearing a hoodie, hands tucked into the sleeves. Mama, this is someone you need to hear. The figure stepped closer until the hood fell back. It was a young woman I had never seen before. Early 20s. Soft brown eyes. Nervous hands. She looked at me like I was the key to a secret she had carried far too long. Ms. Goodwin. My name is Zaira. I nodded slowly. And who are you to any of this? She swallowed hard. I'm Harlan's daughter. The world tilted. My breath caught in my throat. Daughter. A daughter he never told me about. A child he had while he was married to me. A child he abandoned just like he abandoned us. I stood perfectly still, the ground unmoving beneath my feet even though everything else felt like it was spinning. Zaira took a deep breath. I heard him talking on the phone 2 nights ago. He said he was close to getting everything he needed to take your land. He said you wouldn't be a problem once the paperwork was signed. He's been planning it for months. I stared at her. Why are you helping us? Her eyes filled with tears. Because he's not just coming for the land. He's coming for you. The words hit me like ice water. Zaira continued, voice trembling. He said you ruined his life. He said you owe him. He said this time he won't leave without taking what's his. And he told his men. She hesitated. Latoria whispered, tell her. Zaira's voice shook. He told them if you resist, they should make sure you don't resist again. My mouth fell open. Latoria grabbed my arm. Mama, I didn't know about that part. I didn't know. I didn't know he wanted to hurt you. The cold wind whipped across my skin. The truth was laid bare in front of me. My ex-husband. A man I once trusted. A man who vanished. A man who had let his own daughter cry for him. He was coming. For money. For vengeance. For control. My fear shifted in that moment. It turned into something else, something stronger. Something rooted in every step I'd ever taken to survive. I straightened my back. My voice came out steady. Okay. Then we fight back. Janelle blinked. Fight back how? I looked at her. At my daughter. At the frightened young woman who had risked everything to warn us. We don't run anymore. We don't hide. We go somewhere he will not expect. Where the law is on our side. Where no man can force a signature. Where the truth will be seen. I pointed toward the road. Drive me to the sheriff's office. Janelle shook her head. No. Too risky. Harlan has people there too. Then take me somewhere safer. Where? Latoria whispered. I lifted my chin. To the one person in this county who has more authority than Harlan could ever pay for. The air went quiet. The headlights behind us dimmed. And I said the name softly. Judge Delphine Carter. A woman I once helped during her hardest season. A woman who owed me a favor. A woman Harlan would never dare challenge. Janelle's eyes widened. Latoria gasped. But before we could move, before we could speak, the sky flashed with the glare of another pair of headlights coming fast. Too fast. Dust exploded behind the vehicle. Janelle whispered. They found us. The incoming car sped toward us like a bullet, its headlights cutting through the field so sharply it made the dust glow white. The engine roared louder with every second, and the fear on Janelle's face told me everything. This wasn't a rescue. This wasn't someone looking for directions. This was Harlan's people. They had found us. Get in the car now, Janelle ordered, pulling me toward the passenger door with a force I didn't know she still had. Latoria grabbed Zyra's hand and shoved her into the back seat. I slid in next to her, my pulse pounding so hard I felt it in my teeth. The cold air bit at my skin, and the headlights from the other car grew larger, brighter, threatening to swallow our world whole. Janelle threw herself into the driver's seat and turned the key so fast the engine coughed like it wasn't ready for this level of panic. Come on, baby. Come on, she whispered, slapping the steering wheel. The engine caught. But the other car was already too close. Mama, buckle up, Latoria cried. I yanked the seatbelt across my chest just as Janelle slammed her foot on the gas. The tires screeched, kicking dirt and stones behind us. The car lurched forward, and my body jerked back into the seat. The field blurred. Darkness swallowed us. Behind us, the pursuing car surged closer, its high beams slicing through the dust. It wasn't slowing down. It wasn't hesitating. It was hunting us. Janelle gripped the wheel with both hands. Hold on to something and pray, she said. We veered around a patch of tall grass. A ditch came into view. Janelle swerved hard. The car bounced violently, throwing all of us sideways. Zyra screamed. Latoria held onto the back of my seat, her nails digging into the fabric. Mama, if we make it through this, I promise you I will fix everything. I swear I will. Her voice cracked. But I didn't answer. Not because I didn't want to, but because my mind was too busy surviving the present moment to process forgiveness. The pursuing car was still behind us. Still coming. Still closing the distance. Janelle's breathing grew ragged. She drove like someone who had done this before, turning corners fast, cutting sharp angles, making unpredictable moves so the car behind us couldn't settle into a pattern. But the headlights stayed close. Too close. Mama, Zyra whispered, voice barely audible over the wind whipping through the cracked window. He's not going to stop. He told his men he won't leave without getting to you. I turned to her, my voice surprisingly steady. Then we make sure he can't reach me. Janelle took a hard left onto a gravel road. The car skidded. Rocks spat out under the wheels. Dust filled the air behind us like a cloud meant to hide us from the world. But the other car matched our turn perfectly. How are they following us this well? Latoria shouted. Janelle clenched her teeth. Because someone gave them your phone location. Silence hit the car like a slap. Then Zaira whispered it. Your father. Latoria's breath caught in her throat. Her eyes widened in horror. Mama, he must have tracked my phone. He tricked me into sharing my location last week. He said he wanted to know I was safe traveling late at night. I didn't know he was using it for this. Tears fell down her cheeks as she realized the truth. The man she trusted. The man who promised to help her family. He had been using her as bait. Turn it off, Janelle said. Now. Latoria fumbled with trembling fingers, shutting her phone completely, then tossing it onto the floor of the car like it had burned her. Almost instantly, the pursuing car hesitated, its headlights swaying, its speed wavering for a brief moment as if the driver suddenly lost the invisible thread guiding him. Now I realized the truth. They weren't tracking my car. They were tracking my daughter. But Janelle didn't waste a second. She yanked the wheel to the right, pulling us into a narrow path between two rows of old pecan trees. Their long branches formed a dark tunnel above us. Hang on, she hissed. Branches slapped the sides of the car. Leaves scattered across the windshield. The road beneath us was bumpy, uneven, and barely visible in the dark. The car behind us tried to follow. But the path was so narrow that the branches on both sides scraped violently against the vehicle as it entered. And then, crack. The sound echoed through the night like a bone snapping. The enemy car slammed into a tree trunk hidden in the darkness. Its headlights jerked sideways, one going dim. A harsh grinding noise followed, a sound too rough to be anything but metal tearing. They skidded, swerved, and finally, stopped. I watched through the rear window, breath thin, chest tight. The car sat crooked in the road, one headlight flickering weakly. Smoke rose from the hood. Janelle kept driving for another 2 minutes before she finally slowed down and pulled the car to a stop at the edge of a clearing. The engine ticked. The night grew quiet. And for the first time since the field, I felt like I could breathe. Everyone sat shaking. No one spoke. Then Zaira whispered, Mama, they're not going to stop. He's not going to stop. You're the only thing standing between him and a fortune he thinks belongs to him. Janelle wiped sweat from her forehead. We need to get to Judge Carter. She's the only one who can protect you legally and publicly. Once you're under her care, Harlan can't touch you. I nodded. Latoria reached for my hand, her voice small. Mama, I know I messed up. I know I trusted the wrong person. But please, please trust me now. I just want to make this right. I never meant to hurt you. Her tears fell onto my hand. For a moment, I saw her at 5 years old again, crawling onto my lap after a nightmare, begging me not to leave her alone in the dark. I squeezed her hand back. We will fix this. But first, we survive it. Just as we prepared to leave the clearing, Janelle's phone lit up on the dashboard. Unknown caller. Her face went pale. Don't answer it, Latoria whispered. Janelle did anyway. She put it on speaker. A familiar voice filled the car. Smooth. Sharp. Cold. Hello, Celine. Harlan. My ex-husband. The man who abandoned us. The man who had chased us through the night. I felt the blood drain from my face. Harlan continued. You're making this harder than it needs to be. You have something of mine, and I expect it returned. You can run all night if you want, but you know how this ends. Zaira covered her mouth, tears falling. He spoke again, voice like poison wrapped in silk. Come home, Celine. Let's finish our business like adults. Then he paused. And his next sentence chilled me straight through the bone. Because if you don't come to me, I'll come to you. The call ended. Silence swallowed the car. Janelle looked at me. We need to leave now. I nodded. But before Janelle could put the car in drive, a shadow moved in the darkness ahead of us. Then another. Then 3 more. Figures emerging from the trees. Blocking the road. No escape. Zaira squeezed my arm. Mama, what do we do? I stared straight ahead, feeling something inside me shift. The fear that had been controlling me since the first message turned into fire. We don't fold, I said softly. We don't run. We go through them. The danger, the confrontation, the truth waiting in the dark. The night felt like it was holding its breath. 5 figures stood across the dirt road, shoulder to shoulder, blocking any path forward. Their shadows stretched long against the headlights, tall and cold like something pulled from a nightmare. I could see the glint of metal in one man's hand. Another cracked his knuckles. A third wore a hood low enough to hide everything but the shape of his smile. We were trapped. Janelle's fingers tightened around the steering wheel. Latoria whispered, "Mama, I'm scared." Zaira pulled her knees up to her chest, arms wrapped tight around them. I breathed in slowly, forcing myself to stay calm. Panic was a luxury I couldn't afford. Fear had nearly swallowed me whole tonight, but something inside me had changed, hardened, sharpened. Harlan might have sent these men to break me, but he forgot one thing. I had survived things long before this night. And I wasn't done surviving yet. Janelle leaned close. If we try to drive through them, they might shoot. If we stay still, they'll drag us out. We need a different plan. I glanced around the dark clearing. Trees. Dirt. Shadows. No houses. No lights. No witnesses. Not the place you want to die. Then a thought hit me, small but bright. A flicker of hope. Janelle, your car still has that old alarm button on your key fob? She blinked. The panic button? Yeah, but hit it. She didn't question me. That's the thing about sisters. Even after years apart, sometimes trust comes back faster than memory. She pressed the red button. A piercing scream exploded from the car, one long, high-pitched blast that tore through the quiet night like a siren. The men in front of us flinched. Perfect. I whispered, they don't know what that alarm is connected to. For all they know, we're calling the police. Janelle's eyes lit with understanding. She held the button down until the entire clearing vibrated with noise. The men hesitated. Their confidence wavered. One of them stepped back. Another looked over his shoulder. Fear works both ways. But before they could decide whether to flee or fight, a second noise cut through the night. A booming voice. Hey, I see you. Who's out there? All 5 men looked toward the left side of the clearing. My heart skipped. A porch light blinked on through the trees, so faint we hadn't noticed it before. A small cabin, hidden by thick branches. A man stood on the porch, pointing a flashlight toward the road. He was older, heavy-set, with sleep still in his voice but fire brewing in his stance. "You'll better state your business right now," he shouted. The men exchanged quick glances. The stranger yelled again. I said, "What are you doing on my land?" Our car alarm was still screaming. The men took a step back. Then another. Then they scattered like startled dogs, darting into the trees, disappearing into the brush with their boots thundering against the ground. The moment they vanished, Janelle hit the button again, silencing the alarm. The clearing dropped back into quiet, but not the dangerous kind, the relieved kind. The man on the porch pointed his flashlight straight at our car. "You folks okay out there?" Janelle didn't hesitate. She put the car in drive and headed toward him. When we pulled up, the man stepped off his porch. His eyes scanned the dents and dust coating the car, then landed on me. "Ma'am, you look shaken. What's going on?" For a moment, I couldn't answer. The safety of his presence, the sudden relief. It was overwhelming. Janelle stepped out first. "Sir, we're in trouble. Someone's trying to harm my sister. We need a safe place to stay for a few minutes while we figure out how to get to Judge Carter." The man's eyebrows lifted. "Judge Carter? Delphine Carter?" I nodded slowly. "Yes. She's the only one who can protect me right now." The man grunted like he understood more than he said. You'll come inside. Lock the doors behind you. Ain't nobody messing with folks on my property tonight. We hurried into the cabin. It smelled like cedar, old books, and fresh coffee. A fire burned low in the corner. The man turned on a lamp, revealing family pictures and paintings of the countryside. He introduced himself. Name's Sergeant Milton Pierce. Retired. I don't know what you're got going on, but I know trouble when I see it. Latoria clung to my arm. Mama, we're safe for now. I wished I believed it. Zaira paced the room, hugging herself tightly. They're not going to stop, she said. Those men, they'll call him. They'll tell Harlan where we were, and he'll. Her voice broke. Sergeant Pierce looked at her. Who's Harlan? Janelle answered. Her father. Our problem. Our danger. Pierce folded his arms. You women need the law. Not the kind on the street. The kind with a badge or a gavel. Exactly why we need Judge Carter, I said. Pierce nodded. I know her. She's tough. Fair. She won't let nobody railroad a woman who's being threatened. Hope flickered inside me. For the first time tonight. I believed escape was possible. But then. A phone rang. Not mine. Not Janelle's. Not Latoria's. It was Zaira's. Her eyes widened. She stared down at the screen like it was glowing with fire. It said one word. Dad. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. I whispered, don't answer it. Zaira's hand shook. I have to. If I don't, he'll know I'm with you. He'll come here. Pierce shook his head. Put it on speaker. Let's hear what this man has to say. With trembling fingers, she swiped to answer. Harlan's voice poured through the phone line, smooth and slow like someone who enjoyed the sound of his own control. Where are you, Zaira? She swallowed. I'm just out. Getting gas. Lies. We all heard the fear. Harlan continued. I know you're with them. That little stunt they pulled tonight? Cute. But it won't change the ending. Celine has something that belongs to me. And I'm done being patient. I felt every muscle in my body tighten. Then Harlan said something that turned the room ice cold. Judge Carter won't save her. Everyone froze. How does he? Pierce growled low. You need to end this call. But Harlan wasn't finished. You tell my ex-wife this. She can run to any judge she wants. But by tomorrow, every door she knocks on will be closed. My blood ran cold. And then, in the most chilling tone yet, he added, I already made sure of it. The phone slipped from Zaira's fingers. Pierce stepped back like someone had punched him in the gut. Janelle whispered, Oh God. He bribed them. Or threatened them. Or both. Latoria grabbed my hands, her voice breaking. Mama. We're running out of time. I looked around the room, at my daughter, my sister, this stranger trying to help us, and the young woman who had risked everything to warn me. Fear sat heavy in the air. But something else rose in my chest. Determination. I stood slowly, feeling my age in my bones, but also feeling my strength. No more running. No more hiding. No more letting Harlan decide my fate. I looked each of them in the eyes. We're going to Judge Carter anyway. I don't care what Harlan thinks he's done. She will hear me. And if every door is closed. I lifted my chin. We'll break one open. Pierce nodded. Then we leave now. Before he gets closer. Everyone moved toward the door. But the moment Pierce reached for the lock, 3 loud knocks rattled the wood. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. Pierce glanced through the peephole. His face drained of color. He whispered. It's him. Harlan had found us. Sergeant Pierce stepped back from the door so quickly that the floorboard creaked beneath his boots. His face was pale, his jaw clenched, and the only thing he whispered was one painful word that hit my chest like a hammer. Him. Harlan. My ex-husband. The man who walked out on me. The man who lied to our daughter. The man who let our family crumble and never looked back. And now, he was standing outside this cabin in the middle of the night, knocking like he had every right to be there. Like he hadn't spent years burning bridges and hurting lives. Like he could still claim something from me. The knock came again. Slow. Heavy. Thick with confidence. Zaira covered her mouth, trembling. Latoria grabbed my arm. Janelle reached for a kitchen knife behind the counter. Pierce held up his hand, silently signaling her to stay still. Everyone looked at me, waiting, expecting fear. But my fear had burned itself out somewhere between running through fields and surviving car chases. What rose inside me now was calm, an eerie, cold calm that came from knowing exactly who my enemy was. Harlan spoke through the door, voice smooth and mocking. "Celine, open up. We need to finish our talk." Finish. As if anything between us had ever been unfinished. He left without a trace. He left debts. He left lies. He left pain. And now he wanted something again. The land my brother left me. Money. Control. Power. Maybe revenge. But one thing was clear. He was not getting me. Pierce lifted a finger to his lips and whispered, "Stay back. If this turns into a fight, I need space to handle him." I put my hand on his arm. "No. You don't handle him alone." He looked shocked. "Ma'am, this man is dangerous. I need you to." I stepped forward, my voice steady. "He's dangerous because everyone else gave him that space. Not me." Pierce blinked at the strength in my tone but didn't argue again. He cracked the door slightly and spoke in his trained officer voice. "You're trespassing on private property. State your business and back away." Harlan laughed softly, the kind of laugh that throws gasoline on fear. "Your little army won't save her. Not tonight." Pierce's shoulders tensed. He pushed the door open another inch. Harlan took that chance and shoved it wider, stepping into the front porch light. And I saw him. Older now. Gray streaks in his beard. Lines on his forehead that came from years of anger instead of wisdom. But his eyes, those sharp, calculating eyes, were the same. Cold. Hungry. Full of the same entitlement he had when he walked away from us. He wasn't sweating. He wasn't shaking. He wasn't desperate. He looked like a man who believed the world still belonged to him. Behind him, I noticed shadows shifting. Not 5 this time. More. Watching from the tree line. Waiting for his command. Pierce placed himself between us. "What do you want?" Harlan smiled a slow, cruel smile. "I want my wife." Zaira flinched. Latoria whispered, "He's sick, Mama." Pierce growled, "She's not your wife anymore." Harlan stepped closer, eyes fixed only on me. "We never signed those final papers. You left the courthouse early, remember? Too tired. Too overwhelmed. Too broken. I told you I'd file them later. You believed me." The world tilted. A memory flashed, the courthouse hallway, me crying in the bathroom, Harlan comforting me with lies, saying he'd finished the paperwork, saying I didn't need to stay. A lie. A trap. I realized it all at once. In the eyes of the law, technically, he wasn't just my ex. He was still my husband. I felt like the floor shifted under my feet. He smirked, enjoying the shock. "That's right, baby. Which means your land is mine by right. Anything you sign is mine. Everything you inherited is mine. You were always mine." Latoria gasped. "Mama, is that true?" I felt sick. Angry. Betrayed by a version of myself from years ago. Hurt, fragile, trusting the wrong man. But before despair could cover me, Janelle stepped forward. "You lying snake. You didn't file because you wanted leverage. You wanted to trap her in case you ever needed something." Harlan shrugged. "Call it strategy. Protection. Insurance." Pierce stepped closer. "You're not taking this woman anywhere. Harlan's smile faded. He leaned forward. Move. Pierce didn't. Harlan's nostrils flared. He reached slowly into his jacket. Zyra screamed, "Don't." Pierce grabbed his arm. But Harlan didn't pull out a gun. He pulled out a folded paper. A legal document. He held it up like a weapon. A power of attorney. Signed. Dated. And notarized. I felt the air squeeze out of my lungs. He waved it. "See this? This gives me the right to make choices for her. Medical. Financial. Everything." Latoria's voice cracked. "That's not real. That's a lie." Harlan looked straight at her. "You gave me the signature, sweetheart. You showed me where she kept her stamps. You even told me about the Bible hiding spot." Latoria broke. Tears burst from her eyes. "Mama, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't." Harlan lifted the paper higher. "So this is legal. It's done." He turned to me. "Come with me quietly, Celine. Let's not make this ugly." I felt my chest tighten. My vision blurred. For a moment, I saw myself stepping forward, defeated. But then, something inside me snapped back into place. A memory. My brother's lawyer. His words from his will. "Your land cannot transfer ownership without your in-person consent at a court-approved hearing." A court-approved hearing. Not backdoor papers. Not forged signatures. Not threats. I lifted my chin. That paper means nothing. Not for an estate with oil rights. You'd know that if you weren't so desperate. For the first time, Harlan's confidence cracked. A small flicker. Barely visible. But I saw it. He narrowed his eyes. "You think you're smarter than me, Celine?" "No," I said calmly. "I know I am." His jaw tightened. Zyra whispered, "Mama." I stepped forward, steady on my feet. "You want control over me? Over my land? Over my life? Then you're going to have to take me through the courthouse door. With a judge. With paperwork. With cameras. With the whole world watching." Harlan stepped closer, face inches from mine. "Then I guess we're doing this the hard way." Pierce grabbed his shoulder. "That's enough. Leave now." But before anyone could react, Harlan snapped his fingers. From the tree line. Movement. 3 men stepped out. Then 2 more. Hands reaching into pockets. I heard metal click. Pierce shoved me behind him. Janelle grabbed the knife. Zyra screamed. And Latoria whispered, "Mama, this can't be happening." But I wasn't shaking. Not anymore. Because I finally understood something crystal clear. If Harlan wanted a war, he picked the wrong woman. And what happened next was the moment everything changed. The moment the fight didn't break me. It broke him. For a moment, time felt like it stopped. The night air thickened. The cabin porch lights flickered. The shadows of Harlan's men stretched long across the dirt like claws reaching for us. Pierce's body was tense, shielded in front of mine. Janelle held the kitchen knife like she had trained for this moment her whole life. Latoria clung to my arm, trembling. And poor Zyra, Harlan's abandoned daughter, stood frozen between terror and guilt. Harlan lifted his chin, confident. His voice was slow, cruel, steady. "Celine, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Come with me. Do it quietly. No trouble. No mess." I met his eyes, and for the first time that night, I wasn't afraid. I saw the truth behind his anger. His threats. His pursuit. Desperation. Years of gambling. Owed debts. Broken life. Failed schemes. And now in his mind, I was the final jackpot. Not a wife. Not a woman. A prize. His men stepped forward like a wave. Pierce raised his hands, ready to fight even if he knew he was outnumbered. Janelle whispered a shaky prayer. Latoria grabbed my arm. Zaira whispered, "Dad, please don't. Please don't do this." But Harlan never looked at her. He only looked at me. He stepped closer. I felt my pulse slow down, my breath even out, my fear fall away like old skin. Then I said the words that shifted everything. "Harlan, you forgot something." He paused. "What?" "Your men came here to scare me, to take me, to force me." But none of them noticed something important. I pointed behind him. He turned. And for the first time all night, Harlan's confidence cracked in half. Because walking out from behind the tree line, silent, steady, unflinching, was a woman in a deep navy coat with a badge clipped to the front. Judge Delphine Carter. She stepped into the porch light, her expression carved from stone. Behind her, 2 deputies emerged. Real deputies. County law. Not bribed. Not threatened. Judge Carter's voice cut through the night like a blade. "Harlan Goodwin, step away from Mrs. Celine Goodwin. Now." Harlan froze. His jaw tightened. He lifted the forged document like a shield. "Judge, this is a legal power of attorney. She belongs with me." Judge Carter took 2 steps forward. Her eyes did not blink. Her voice did not soften. "That paper is invalid. Notarized under false pretenses. And filed under an incomplete divorce that was never officially closed. You attempted to manipulate loopholes for financial gain involving a high-value inherited estate. That is a felony." Harlan swallowed. His men hesitated. Judge Carter raised her hand. "Deputies." The 2 deputies stepped forward, hands on their holsters. "Boys," she said, in a calm, deadly voice. "Unless you want a prison record tonight, I strongly suggest you drop anything illegal and back away from this property." One of Harlan's men lifted his hands instantly. Another dropped something, metal clinking hard against the dirt. A third disappeared so fast into the trees it was clear he had no loyalty to Harlan at all. Harlan turned toward Judge Carter, breath tightening. "You don't understand. This land should have been mine. She owes me. She left me. She ruined." Judge Carter raised her hand sharply. "Stop talking." Harlan froze. Judge Carter stepped forward until she was only a few feet away from him. "Let me make this crystal clear. You abandoned your family. You vanished for decades. You provided no support. And now you stalked, chased, threatened, and attempted to abduct a woman to steal her inheritance." She leaned closer. "That ends tonight." Harlan's confidence shattered visibly. His lips trembled. Sweat formed at his temples. He opened his mouth to speak, but Judge Carter turned toward the deputies. "Arrest him." The deputies grabbed his arms. Zaira sobbed into her hands as the reality hit her. Harlan tried to jerk away. "This isn't over. She owes me. That land is mine." Judge Carter pointed at him. "No. That land is hers. And it will stay hers." The deputies pulled him toward their patrol car. He yelled the whole way, threats echoing into the trees. But his voice grew weaker, smaller, irrelevant. When the doors slammed shut, the night finally exhaled. Silence fell. Zaira collapsed into tears. He's my father, but he's a monster." I wrapped my arms around her. "You are not him. You did what he could never do. You told the truth." She sobbed harder, burying her face in my shoulder. Latoria dropped to her knees beside me, her voice breaking. "Mama, I'm so sorry. I trusted him. I believed him. I didn't protect you. I almost ruined your life." I pulled her close. "Baby, you learned tonight what I learned years ago. Evil doesn't always come with a warning. Sometimes it wears a smile." We cried together, 3 women broken in different ways, finally breathing again. Then Judge Carter stepped toward me. "Celine." I stood. She took my hands gently. "I've already frozen your estate. No one can touch it." Not a bank. Not a lawyer. Not a man with a forged paper. Your late brother left you that land because he trusted you. I will make sure it remains yours. Warm tears filled my eyes. Thank you, Judge Carter. She nodded. I owed you. Once, a long time ago, you helped me when I had no one else. Consider this my way of returning that grace. Janelle wrapped her arm around my shoulders. Latoria held my other side. Zaira wiped her eyes and stayed close. Pierce stepped forward, letting out a breath of relief. Well, that was one hell of a night. We all laughed, weak, exhausted, but alive. Judge Carter cleared her throat. Now, let's get you ladies somewhere safe. I'll take full legal control until the courts open Monday morning. Harlan won't see daylight without facing charges. Everyone nodded. But before we walked away, I looked out at the trees where Harlan's men had run. Where fear had lived all night. Where danger had chased us like wolves. And I realized something. I was still standing. Still breathing. Still whole. Still me. I turned back to my family. Let's go home. They surrounded me, holding me close as we walked toward the patrol cars. For the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. For the first time all night, I felt safe. And for the first time in my life with Harlan, I had won. Quiet. Complete. Powerful. Before we end this story, my dear listeners, do me a small favor to keep stories like this going. If this journey touched your heart even a little, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications so you don't miss the next story. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I want to know the family that's walking with me. Thank you for staying with me through this emotional story. More powerful stories are coming next.